I'm sure you know what the number one rule of investing is. It's do not lose money. But what types of investors lose the most money and why? And most importantly, how can you not become those types of investors? So today, I am going to give you the 3 worst types of investors and the investors that you want to avoid becoming. Let's go ahead and break it down. So first, I want to always give you a little bit of context. So these are from my observations and from researched studies and again, observations. So first, remember, I've been doing this since 2010, both as a financial educator and as a financial advisor. I have written books about investing and personal finance, and I've managed over $140 million over my advisory career. I've seen this stuff up close, both the good and the bad. So the first type of investor is a lotto ticket investor. This is the type of investor who only invests in the long shot, the person who is trying to get rich tomorrow. Now, as we know, and studies have confirmed, and a lot of you have done this as well, because this is why you subscribe. This is why you are here. And the people who have been subscribed to this channel for years, you have seen your wealth grow, where I think we've all grown together. If you haven't, this is your time to subscribe so you can grow too, okay? But we have seen, right, the long-term strategy has worked, right? That is what works for the vast majority of investors. But there are people who just, hey, look, I got $25. I need it to be like $75,000 by tomorrow. I've got a cousin, or we all have a cousin or an uncle who's like, hey, you know, what's the best stock tip right now? Cause rent is due. Bro, that's not gonna work. Okay, that's not how investing works. Or better yet, that's not how investing works best. You can lose a whole lot of money trying the the lotto ticket investing strategy. And the reason is you're taking on far too much risk, and you're really putting money on the line that you probably shouldn't be putting on the line. And again, you're usually shooting for companies that don't have this slow and steady growth, which is more reliable. You are shooting for something that is either boom or bust, which means you're taking penny stocks. You're taking things that are extremely volatile. You yourself are you're anxious. You don't have the, let me sit back, I don't have to worry about what the headlines are saying. You are anxious and you're jumping on it and looking at something every single minute because you can't afford to wait. And that is an issue. The stock market is supposed to be a patient game. It is supposed to be a waiting game. When I tell you what I'm doing about when I'm looking at the stock market, I tell you guys, my absolute minimum is I am going to wait at least 6 months and come back and not sell. My first instinct is not I'm going to wait 6 months and sell. It's I'm going to wait 6 months and reevaluate, see if I was correct about what I think this stock is going to continue to do or not. And I would say about 80 to 90% of the time, I am going to renew that contract, if you will, and wait another 6 months, which means I've had it for a minimum of a year and then continue. And that helps me to hold stocks for the long term. For example, FICO, for example, NVIDIA. Those stocks for me, as you guys have known and seen, FICO up, 80-something% or whatever it was in the screenshot that we showed. You guys have seen NVIDIA. Y'all know on public, you've seen me hold Google, O'Reilly's. When I first started public, I've been holding O'Reilly's since the time I had that app for almost 5 years ago. This is what we do, right? Slow and steady growth over time. That is the best way that we have seen for reliable success. Studies have shown it. Warren Buffett has shown it. Go ask your next door millionaire, which is a book, okay? Though you might have a next door millionaire, ask them how they got there. And I'm willing to bet that it wasn't an overnight stock. It wasn't, hey, I just put all my money on one thing and, in 10 minutes, I got rich. That's not the way that you really want to do it. The second type of investor that you do not want to be is perhaps the most annoying, at least the most annoying to me. And that is the super fan. Now, this can be someone who is a super fan of a specific stock or even of a specific person or CEO who manages that particular stock. The reason it's annoying to me is they just be in the comments a lot, okay? And for example, these can be, I'm not picking on anyone specific, but it can be, and y'all know these people, but it can be someone who is only talking about Elon Musk and Tesla. And it feels like that is the only stock they own and that's all they know. Whether the stock is good or not, the stock can be down 50% and all they are doing is talking about the positives and why they think this stock can be the next best thing. People did this with Mullen Automotive. Even though that stock was in the absolute toilet, they kept saying why they thought it was going to be the next best thing. Even people, as recent as like last year, were doing the same thing with meme stocks and AMC. That was the only thing they were focused on. They were super fans of that particular company, digging into every single page of every single study they can find and every single earnings report they can find, trying to justify every single thing while ignoring what was literally in their faces. And the problem with these super fans is they literally do not see anything negative, ever. For example, I had a conversation with Elon Musk, Tesla super fan. I'm like, hey, I own shares of Tesla. Okay, so I'm in it. Okay, I prefer for the stock to go up because I got shares. But the stock at the time, the stock was down like 40%. I'm like, hey, of all the stuff that you said, that's all positive, that's all well and good, but the stock is down 40%. Completely glossed over it. Didn't even address that point and went into why he thought in 2027 the stock was going to do X, Y, and Z, and why the Cybertruck was going to do this and outsell, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cool. You didn't say anything about why the stock was down 40% and why over the last year it was down 20% or whatever it was at the time. Right now, when tech stocks are up, and I'm looking at, and we've talked about this, why Tesla was disappointed. You can check out that video here. But the issue was, when all the tech stocks were doing well, that one was not. And everybody's calling Tesla a tech stock. But the issue was, you skipped all past that. That is the reality. And you just gloss past it. And that's what super fans do. The problem, though, is not only are you ignoring that information, it can have you to lose money. Tesla's one case, right? But it can be the penny stocks at times. It can be the meme stocks at times. We have so much affinity and loyalty to something where you could just be losing tens of thousands of dollars having faith and hope in somebody or in something that you don't realize the damage it could be doing to your future or your portfolio. Now, on the opposite side of things, sometimes it can work out, right? Now, if I zoom all the way out, Tesla is a good stock for the long term. Is it going to be that way for forever and ever? Maybe. It could be. There could be people to look up to. You could say that being a super fan of Warren Buffett could be a good thing. Maybe, right? I'm not here to tell you that some are better than others. You could also say the Donald Trump stock has not worked out, though there are super fans of that particular stock. Okay, so those things are out there, but the main thing is, you don't want to just buy into it because of a person. You want to buy into a company because of the fundamentals, because the stock itself is either making money or losing money, period. That is what you are here for, because you liking a person doesn't keep the lights on. You liking a person is not going to be the thing that says, yes, you can leave your job and never go back. That ain't going to help you. Right, and the number of followers and your love and affinity for a particular person or CEO isn't going to help you. It's whether or not that stock is up or down that is going to hurt you. It's the numbers and the commas in your 401k, in your bank account, in your portfolio that is going to help you, not whether or not you defended somebody in the comment section under a video. That is the issue at the end of the day. All right, so don't be a super fan. Be somebody that plays it down the middle and looks at the facts and not, who the face is behind that particular stock. All right. The next type of investor that you absolutely do not want to be is the one that is overconfident. And this is perhaps the one that is most interesting because we can all fall prey to this. But the investor that is overconfident, I think, explains itself. But What they don't realize is it is usually the environment that plays into the success of those investments, and you don't see when that environment changes. For example, the stock market has been, or had been rather, perfectly fine after the Great Recession until the coronavirus. Nobody saw the coronavirus coming, and you really didn't have to be a genius to be good at investing post 2008 up until 2019. You could almost throw a dart at anything and make money in the stock market. It was not hard. Interest rates were low. Tech stocks were doing well. I think at the time before, like Netflix was one of the best performing stocks of that decade. It was easy. Very, very easy. Then we hit the coronavirus, and that is when the playbook absolutely changed, because then it was, well, what were the best COVID stocks? What were the vaccine stocks? Then it was, what were the stay-at-home plays? What were the, it was the Zooms, the Pelotons of the world. Then it was, all right, what are the reopening stocks? Then that was the playbook, and that was the environment that we were in, and you had to figure out, okay, things are changing. It went from stay-at-home stocks, and then it became inflation stocks, and then it became interest rate stocks, and then it became, all right, are we back to normal stocks? What about recession stocks, right? So people who were good at reopening stocks or stay-at-home stocks, the environment changed, and they were like, I'm really good at the stock market. Or people who were great at meme stocks and said, oh, I'm really good at investing, and they were meme stock kings, and they were great, and we're making tons and tons of money. And then the meme stock environment moved, and that was it, right? And now you're like, wait a minute, I can't do this anymore. It's not working like it used to. It's because the environment moved and you aren't ready for it. You were overconfident thinking that you knew what you were doing, when it was really the environment moved from what it was now to what it is, and it's completely different. It wasn't you that was really good. It was the environment was just right for what you were trying to do at that point in time. And right now, right, we're in an environment where AI stocks are great. Tech stocks are great. And now we could be seeing what the Fed is going to do, what the election is going to do. And people tend to get overconfident, or some investors rather, can get overconfident in what their skills may or may not be. The way not to do that is to be, flexible. To invest in index funds and just leave things alone is another way. But for me, and I've said this, and perhaps I don't say it enough, I'm somebody, again, who you guys know, I reevaluate, and I say it on purpose, or I reevaluate every single stock in my portfolio. Though Apple and Microsoft and Google and some of those legacy names have been in my portfolio for a very long time, ain't none of them permanent. And I know that and stick to that because I know I'm a student of history. I'm not overconfident in thinking that Apple is going to be here forever, or even Microsoft is going to be here forever. In my mind, I feel like they could be. I feel like they're irreplaceable. However, I know that Apple and Microsoft were not always the most valuable, most powerful companies in the world. In fact, right now, NVIDIA took over that spot from Apple, and Apple took over that spot from Microsoft, and Microsoft took over that spot from, I think it was ExxonMobil, and ExxonMobil took it over from Walmart, and Walmart took it over from IBM. Like, these things do change every decade and a half or so. So don't think that right now, today, is going to be NVIDIA forever and ever. Now, it might be 15 years that NVIDIA continues to hold that number one spot. Maybe, right? Maybe. But Tesla may be the next one. I don't know. It may be a company we've never heard of, because 15 years ago, I'd never heard of NVIDIA. Most people hadn't. I believe most people hadn't. 15 years ago, like I was in my 20s. I don't know, right? But that is how this process does work. So could those stocks still be valuable? Maybe. But what I'm not going to do is be overconfident in myself and my own abilities, even though I've been doing this for a very long time, and not take the time to sit down and reevaluate my own process. That is why at the end of every year, and at the end, or at the halfway point of the year, so every June and every December, I sit down and say to myself, was I right? Was I right about these particular stocks? Was I right about what I thought was going to happen? The theories or the thoughts we had about rate cuts and what the economy was going to do. I sit down and say, hey, were we right? Yes or no? And then make those tweaks in case I was wrong, or double down in case I was right. I try not to be. I try not to be overconfident about my own investments and the things that I do or do not do. Everybody should do that, right? Because when you don't, it can cost you money, and those things can absolutely hurt you and your returns and your portfolio. Don't forget the math. If you lose 10%, you need to make 11 to break even. So that's because you start with 100, you lose 10, you get 90. You need 11% to break back even. You lose 20%, you need 25 to break even. The more you lose, the more you need to make back. Again, you got 100, you lose 20%, now you need 25 to break back even. It gets rough when you continue to lose money. I prefer to reduce that as much as possible. So if you want to learn more about, reducing the chances of losing money and protecting your money as much as you can while also making money, I do teach a free class almost every single day. That link is right here. Also, if you want to learn more about investing and again, protecting your money, I have a few videos and playlists on the channel. If you want to click directly to those videos, you can check out those videos right here.